I will show you how the disorganization you feel right now is not a mistake of fate, but the prelude to your greatest spiritual transformation and the awakening of consciousness. The cost of trying to remain intact within old molds is becoming a prisoner of a life that no longer accommodates your current truth. Based on decades of observing the human journey and the wisdom of masters who understood that one must have chaos within oneself to give birth to a dancing star. This is not about quick fixes or shallow positivity, but about the courage to sustain inner silence while life dismantles your certainties. In this video, we aren't just going to theorize. I will lead you through an investigation of discomfort method, a 3-minute practical step you can apply today, which will teach you to stop running from what hurts and start observing the new form trying to emerge from your ruins. It is the beginning of your transition from resistance to fluidity. Often, we look at the wreckage of our illusions and feel only the fear of the void. But what if this sacred unease is, in fact, a calling for your self-knowledge? Nietzsche taught us that man is something that shall be overcome. There is no true creation in states of absolute comfort. Today, I invite you on a journey of recognition. Let's understand why the soul demands the crumbling of the ego so that the hidden form may finally reveal itself. But to understand this emerging light, we must first look at what makes us close our eyes. Where does this desire to escape begin? Why do we flee from the internal disorganization that precedes every great change? Human beings have an almost biological need for order, but real spirituality teaches us that the fertile void is the womb of the invisible. We flee from silence because it forces us to hear what we cannot yet name. We prefer familiar disorder, the suffering we are already used to carrying, over the silence that generates the new. Nietzsche provoked his readers to accept transience. Similarly, in Mogobe Ramos' Ubuntu philosophy, being is not something finished. We are a continuous process of becoming. When you feel like your life is dismantled, you are not broken. You are simply returning to the original state of flow, where life is movement, not stagnation. If we are this incessant flow, why does it hurt so much when life decides to change course? Perhaps the answer lies in how we view our own structure. Imagine that you are, at the same time, the marble and the sculptor. For the hidden form to reveal itself, the stone must crack. The pain you feel is the hammer of consciousness striking the old molds of the ego that have become too small for you. The quest to remain intact is what prevents your true spiritual transformation. What we call a crisis is often the wisdom of the ruins teaching us about essence. Nietzsche said we should be grateful for what challenges us, for what does not kill us makes us stronger and more lucid. Sustaining the unformed, accepting the moment when you don't yet know who you are, but already know who you no longer want to be, is the sign of deep spiritual maturity. When we stop lamenting what has fallen, we realize that the debris releases a heat, an energy that, if well channeled, becomes the life force for your new self. Often, we use spirituality as an escape, seeking a static peace just to avoid the necessary disorder. But true peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the strength to welcome inner tension without rushing to find ready-made solutions. This existential malaise you feel upon waking, or when looking at your relationships, is a sacred unease. It is the call for your individuation, as Jung would say, or for your self-overcoming, as Nietzsche would say. Do not ignore what disorganizes you. Use that energy as fuel. The error of static spirituality is believing that enlightenment is a destination of eternal calm, when, in fact, it is the ability to dance in the midst of chaos, maintaining presence and an active listening of the soul. Welcoming this tension is not an act of passivity, but of extreme courage. It is the moment we finally decide to cross the portal without looking back. There comes a moment in the walk when the old way of living can no longer sustain your truth. This is the point of no return. You try to go back to who you were, but the old molds no longer fit your new consciousness. Crossing through the disorganizer requires the courage to allow life to dismantle your deepest certainties. Here, African wisdom reminds us that I am because we are. Your personal transformation is not an isolated event. It alters the vibrational frequency of everything around you. By accepting your own internal reconstruction, you give others permission to do the same. Integrity requires us to face what disorganizes us, for only in the ruins of our illusions do we find the essence that can never be destroyed. And upon crossing this portal, we discover that what seemed like an end was, in fact, the birth of a beauty our old minds could never conceive. The ultimate purpose of suffering and productive disorder is to generate something that surpasses us. When the collapse of the ego ends, what emerges is not what you wanted, but what you needed to become. It is the beauty of the new structure, more flexible, more resilient, and deeply human. Philosophy and spirituality cease to be theories and become tools for reconstruction. You begin to live the transformation in your skin, not just in your mind. As Nietzsche celebrated life in its totality, and African elders honor the natural rhythm of time, you learn to trust the process. The universe hears you when you finally learn to listen to yourself in the silence of your heart. In this moment, I don't ask you to imagine anything extraordinary. I only ask you to become present to what is inevitable. Identify in your life today which area seems to be in ruins or deeply disorganized. Do not try to find an immediate solution. Spiritual maturity consists of not ignoring what we cannot yet name. Breathe into that discomfort. Feel how this tension inhabits your body. Nietzsche invites us to a more fatty, not just to bear what is necessary, but to love it. Mogobe Ramos reminds us that we are a constant, becoming, in the flow of Ubuntu. By stopping the fight against this disorganization, you allow the intelligence of life, which is greater than your ego, to begin sculpting the new form. Stay in this point of tension for a few moments, without seeking escape routes. It is here, in the silence of discomfort, that the new is born. If these words touched something within you, perhaps it is time to take one more step on this path of reconnecting with your inner truth. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue receiving content that nourishes the soul with presence and authenticity. Share in the comments what resonated with your heart. Your story might be the mirror someone else needed to find. If you are looking for a safe haven, know that our community is the sanctuary where fertile silence is shared and deepened. Enjoy the channel's posts, and to continue expanding this field of presence, we suggest the video pinned in the card. May it be a source of inspiration on your journey. Peace and light.